Yesterday, I achieved absolutely nothing. No lives saved, no deadlines, no emails answered, no books finished, no goals conquered. In fact, if somebody asked me, "So, what did you do today?" I'd probably have to answer, "Not much." And here's the strange part. For the first hour, I felt guilty, genuinely guilty. Not because somebody has criticized me, nobody did. Not because I was neglecting work, and not because I did anything. I earned a day off. Everything that needed to be done had been done. Yet my mind behaved as if I had committed a crime. I kept whispering, "You should have been doing something. You're wasting time." Successful people don't just sit around, open your laptop, reply to somebody, at least pretend to be productive. And then I sat there thinking, who is talking? Because logically, I knew I deserved a break, but somewhere emotionally, I was not convinced. And that's when I realized something. Maybe the hardest thing an emergency medicine physician ever learns is not how to work under pressure. Maybe it is how to stop working when the pressure is gone. Hello, everyone. I am Dr. Vamshidhar Argula, an emergency medicine physician, and you are watching CodeBlue Confessions. This is not a channel about medicine. Medicine is simply where these stories begin. This channel is about people. This channel is about what work does to us, what emergency medicine does to us, what ambition does to us, what success costs us, and occasionally what peace quietly teaches us. And today's confession is one I never expected to make. I had forgotten how to rest. Growing up, doing nothing, when I was growing up, doing nothing was considered as laziness. If you were sitting quietly, someone would eventually ask, "Why are you sitting idle? Read something, study something, clean something, fix something, help someone, do something." And even holidays used to come with homework. Even Sundays had responsibilities. Somewhere along the way, we accidentally learned a dangerous equation that movement is movement equals to value and productivity, and stillness equals to laziness. Nobody explicitly taught us that, but life did. The situations did. People around us did. Schools rewarded activity. Work rewarded activity. Society applauded activity. And gradually, being busy became a part of our identity. Have you noticed something? Ask somebody, "How are you?" And often these days, the answer is not "I am good." The answer is, "Yeah, life is good, but I'm busy." And they say it with pride in their eyes. Busy has become a status symbol, as if exhaustion is now the evidence of importance. And medicine quietly amplifies this mindset because there is always something to do. One more patient, one more result, one more referral, one more discharge, and one more article to read, and one more guideline, one more course, one more examination, one more conference. Medicine does not have a finish line, it simply has the next thing always. And that's beautiful. I'm not denying that, but it's also dangerous because eventually your brain forgets that pausing is allowed, resting is allowed. You start feeling guilty for recovering. think about think how absurd it is. Imagine Virat Kohli or Usain Bolt. They run for 100 miles. They again run for 100 miles. They again run for 100 miles. And you say, don't recover. There is no recovery. That very that's funny in a sad way. It's ridiculous. Recovery is a part of performance. I want everyone to understand this. Recovery is part of performance. Yet somehow many of us believe that our minds should operate differently. Work, 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 work. And wonder why we are exhausted. Yesterday I was sitting quietly, no phone, no podcast, no television, nothing. Just sitting. And about 10 minutes, something interesting happened, which is nothing. Literally nothing. No emergency, no crisis, no notification, no interruption. And suddenly I realized I was uncomfortable because nothing was asking for me. Not a patient, not a colleague, not an email, not a message. Nobody needed anything. And perhaps I quietly built my identity around being needed. That thought frightened me because if your entire identity depends on somebody needing you, what happens when nobody needs you? Who are you then? That may be one of the most uncomfortable questions I've ever asked myself. Not what kind of a doctor I am, but what kind of a person I am when I'm not a doctor. That question sits beside me for longer than I expected. The strange thing about stillness is that eventually it begins talking back, not in words, but in observations. I noticed the wind, not because it suddenly became stronger, because I had finally become quieter. I noticed how quickly my thoughts jumped from one subject to another. I noticed how often I reached my phone without actually needing it. I noticed how uncomfortable silence had become. Not because silence was uncomfortable, but because my mind had forgotten what silence felt like, what slowness felt like, what calmness felt like. And something inside me relaxed, not dramatically, not like enlightenment, just a quiet inhalation and exhalation. The kind you don't realize you have been holding. Maybe we have misunderstood the term rest. Maybe rest is not something we earn. Maybe it's something we require. Not because we are weak, but because we are human. Somewhere we confused constant motion with meaningful progress, but they are not the same thing. You can be incredibly busy and quietly lose yourself, or you can spend 20 minutes doing absolutely nothing and rediscover parts of yourself you had not met in years or decades. Yesterday, I did not save anybody's life. I did not achieve anything impressive. I did not become more successful, but perhaps I learned something more valuable. I learned that the world continues even when I stop moving. And strangely, this isn't frightening anymore. It's liberating. Because if the world does not need me every minute, perhaps I don't have to carry it every minute. I'm still learning. I still catch myself reaching for work. I still feel guilty sometimes. Old habits are very stubborn. But every now and then I remind myself that resting is not opposite of working. It's part of working. And maybe doing nothing is not actually doing nothing at all. Maybe it's where we finally make room to become ourselves again. Think about it. I am Vamshidhar Argula. And this is Code Blue Confessions. And before we meet again, let me leave you with one question. When was the last time you did absolutely nothing without feeling guilty? Until next time, life whispers before it screams. Pay attention. Thank you.